It was a warm, clear evening on March 13, 1997, in Phoenix, Arizona. Residents of the city and the surrounding areas went about their usual activities, unaware that they were about to witness one of the most mysterious and widely discussed UFO events in modern history. For hours, thousands of people across the state would be drawn outside by a series of strange, unexplained lights that would become known as the Phoenix Lights. The first sightings of the lights occurred around 7:30 p.m. when several people in the area reported seeing a series of bright, stationary lights hovering in the sky. These lights seemed to form a perfect V-shape, with a central craft or object visible at the heart of the formation. The lights were not moving like aircraft or helicopters. They were eerily still, casting a strange glow over the desert landscape below. At first, many people dismissed the lights as flares or military exercises, but something about the event felt different, something that couldn't be easily explained away. As the lights remained visible, more people began to notice the strange phenomenon. Eyewitness accounts began pouring in from various parts of the state, with people reporting seeing the same V-shaped formation of lights. Some described the lights as being perfectly aligned, while others said they seemed to shift positions slightly. The central craft, which some described as a large, dark triangular shape, appeared to block out the stars behind it. Witnesses felt a sense of awe, but also unease. The sheer size of the formation and its apparent lack of movement made the lights unlike any natural or man-made phenomena they had ever seen. As the evening wore on, the lights began to move. Instead of staying stationary, as they had earlier, the lights seemed to drift slowly across the sky. Some witnesses reported seeing a massive, slow-moving craft with the lights attached, while others saw only the lights themselves, which appeared to flicker and shift. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Eyewitnesses from all walks of life, pilots, police officers, and ordinary citizens, spoke of the lights with a shared sense of amazement and confusion. In some areas, the lights were visible for over an hour, while others saw them for a much shorter time. The strange formation of lights eventually disappeared into the distance, leaving many residents puzzled and deeply curious. Some people were able to capture the lights on video and take photographs, though the quality of the footage was often poor and grainy. Despite the limited evidence, the Phoenix Lights became a subject of widespread discussion, as more and more people began to come forward with their own experiences. The event was not limited to Phoenix itself. People in nearby cities, including Prescott, Tucson, and even as far away as Mexico, reported seeing the strange lights in the sky. The phenomenon spanned across a vast stretch of desert, and the scale of the sightings raised more questions than answers. Local news outlets began to cover the event, and UFO enthusiasts quickly took notice. As more people came forward, the story of the Phoenix Lights spread, reaching national and even international attention. At first, the U.S. government and military attributed the lights to a series of military flares that had been released during training exercises. According to officials, the lights seen over Phoenix were part of a planned military exercise that had been conducted over the area on the night of March 13th. They claimed that the V-shaped formation of lights was simply the result of several flares being dropped from aircraft, which created the illusion of a continuous formation. However, this explanation did little to satisfy those who had witnessed the lights firsthand. Many witnesses, including trained professionals like pilots and law enforcement officers, adamantly disagreed with the military's assessment. They pointed out that the lights they saw were far too structured and organized to be random military flares. Some even argued that the lights appeared to move in ways that were inconsistent with the behavior of flares or any other known aircraft. There was also the question of the massive, triangular craft reported by many eyewitnesses, which didn't match the characteristics of flares at all. As more eyewitnesses came forward, the debate about what had actually occurred began to intensify. Some people still believed the lights were a result of military activity, while others, especially those with no prior interest in UFOs, began to entertain the possibility that they had witnessed something far more extraordinary. For them, the lights were an undeniable sign that something otherworldly had occurred over Phoenix that night. A few months later, former governor of Arizona, Fife Symington, who had dismissed the UFO sightings as a hoax at the time, publicly changed his stance. Symington revealed that he had seen the lights himself and admitted that he had been perplexed by the event. In an interview, he acknowledged that the lights were not flares and that they couldn't be easily explained by conventional means. Symington's admission lent a degree of legitimacy to the claims of UFO enthusiasts and helped fuel further speculation about the true nature of the Phoenix lights. The Phoenix lights continued to captivate the public's imagination long after the event. Despite the government's explanation, many believed that the lights were not military flares, but something more mysterious and unexplained. Over the years, the Phoenix lights would become one of the most widely discussed UFO sightings in history, with hundreds of people continuing to share their personal accounts of what they saw that night. As new UFO sightings and reports of alien encounters continued to surface, the Phoenix lights remained a key moment in the ongoing debate about extraterrestrial life. It was one of the first major UFO events of the 1990s and set the stage for an increasing number of similar encounters in the decades that followed. In the years following the Phoenix Lights event, the mystery of the strange lights over Arizona remained an unresolved enigma. Despite the government's official explanation of military flares, the overwhelming number of eyewitness accounts, along with the compelling nature of the phenomenon, left many people, both within the UFO community and the general public, convinced that the truth had yet to be revealed. The event continues to be one of the most famous and widely discussed UFO sightings in modern history, fueling debates and investigations about the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The government's explanation and public doubt, the U.S. military's initial explanation that the lights were simply military flares dropped by aircraft during training exercises, did little to quell the growing speculation surrounding the Phoenix lights. For many witnesses, the lights they saw in the sky seemed far too structured and organized to be flares. The description of the formation, a massive V-shaped or triangular craft, didn't match the erratic pattern that military flares would have created. In response to the increasing public scrutiny, the U.S. Air Force held a press conference in 1997 to explain the incident, claiming that the lights were part of a training exercise involving military flares dropped from A-10 Warthog aircraft. According to the military, the lights seen over Phoenix were a result of the flares being illuminated by the lights of the city below. However, the military's explanation was met with skepticism by those who had witnessed the event firsthand. They pointed out that the lights did not behave like flares, which typically fall to the ground and burn out in a few minutes, whereas the lights seen over Phoenix were stationary, remained visible for a long period of time, and displayed unusual movement. Many witnesses, including law enforcement officers, pilots, and other trained observers, described the lights as moving in precise formations, seemingly under intelligent control. Some witnesses even claimed to have seen a massive triangular craft, much larger than any known aircraft, hovering silently above them. The idea that these lights were simply military flares dropped in an unorganized pattern seemed increasingly implausible, and many people began to wonder whether the government was attempting to cover up the true nature of the phenomenon. The reevaluation of the event. In the years following the Phoenix Lights, the event gained international attention and became a focal point for UFO enthusiasts and researchers. Investigations into the incident were conducted by various groups, including independent researchers and organizations like the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, which collects and investigates UFO sightings across the United States. Their findings and the testimony of numerous witnesses helped reinforce the idea that what occurred over Phoenix was no ordinary phenomenon. One of the most significant developments came when former Arizona Governor Fife Symington, who had initially ridiculed the idea of a UFO sighting, publicly changed his stance in 2007. Symington, who had once mocked the idea of extraterrestrial involvement during the public fallout from the lights, admitted that he himself had seen the lights and that he had been unable to explain them. In an interview, Symington described seeing the same V-shaped formation that many witnesses had reported. He acknowledged that whatever the lights were, they couldn't have been military flares, as the lights were stationary and behaved in ways that flares simply could not. Symington's public shift in position lent a level of credibility to the claims of UFO proponents, reinforcing the idea that the Phoenix lights were indeed an unexplained phenomenon. In addition to Symington's change of heart, other credible witnesses, including military personnel and civilian pilots, came forward to report their own sightings of the Phoenix lights. Some of these witnesses had never spoken publicly about what they saw, fearing ridicule or disbelief. But as more people came forward, a clearer picture of what had happened on that fateful night emerged. The testimonies from these individuals helped build the case that the Phoenix lights were far more than just a case of misidentified military flares. Possible explanations and theories. With a growing number of credible witnesses and the continued mystery surrounding the Phoenix lights, several theories began to emerge about what the lights might have been. Some of the most common theories included extraterrestrial craft. The most popular theory among UFO enthusiasts was that the lights were part of an extraterrestrial visitation. The lights' apparent intelligence, their slow movement, and their unusual formation all pointed to the possibility that they were part of a craft controlled by beings from another planet. The idea of a massive triangular craft hovering silently over the desert, larger than any known human-made aircraft, became central to the extraterrestrial hypothesis. The fact that the lights disappeared without explanation added to the theory that they were part of an alien craft that had come to observe or investigate Earth. Military experiment or secret craft. Some researchers speculated that the lights could have been part of a top-secret military experiment, potentially involving new technologies or aircraft. The U.S. government's initial refusal to acknowledge any unusual activity and the subsequent military flares explanation led some to believe that the event was somehow connected to classified military operations. This theory posits that the craft seen by witnesses might have been a prototype aircraft developed by the military, potentially using experimental propulsion systems or cloaking technology. Natural phenomena or atmospheric anomaly. A more conventional theory put forward was that the lights were caused by an unusual atmospheric or natural phenomenon, such as ball lightning, a rare and poorly understood occurrence in which electrical phenomena manifest as glowing orbs. However, this explanation did not account for the consistency and formation of the lights seen by witnesses, nor the size of the object that many people claim to have seen. Mass hallucination or optical illusions. Another theory, though less popular, suggested that the lights were a mass hallucination or optical illusion caused by the lighting conditions and atmospheric factors. Skeptics pointed to the fact that the lights were seen over a large area and suggested that psychological factors could have influenced people's perceptions, particularly if they were already predisposed to believe in UFOs. However, the consistency of the reports from credible witnesses made this explanation less likely. The legacy of the Phoenix lights. The Phoenix lights incident remains one of the most significant and controversial UFO sightings in modern history. It has sparked decades of debate, investigation, and discussion about the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The event has become a touchstone for UFO enthusiasts and researchers who continue to study the phenomenon in the hopes of uncovering the truth. As time passes, the legacy of the Phoenix Lights continues to grow. The event has inspired numerous documentaries, books, and articles, all seeking to explore the mystery of what happened over Arizona on that fateful night. The Phoenix Lights have become a central part of UFO lore, one of the most widely discussed and publicly witnessed UFO sightings in history. To this day, no conclusive explanation for the Phoenix Lights has emerged, and the event remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of modern UFO sightings. The lights continue to captivate the imaginations of people worldwide, and the question of what truly happened over Phoenix that night remains unanswered. The Phoenix Lights remind us that there are still mysteries in the world that challenge our understanding of reality. Whether you believe in UFOs, extraterrestrial life, or other theories, the event calls us to keep an open mind and continue seeking the truth. The lights in the sky over Phoenix have left us with more questions than answers, but they have also ignited a desire to explore the unknown. Let the Phoenix Lights inspire us to look up at the stars with wonder and curiosity, knowing that the truth might be just beyond our reach, but it's worth seeking.